and start with Billy. All right. Oh, looks like we have one more person joining us. Michael, we just got started, but if you want to, we're just sharing or getting to know you, your name, your Fulbright Award or your country interest, if you know it, and then the most boring fact about you. Mine is I don't like Reese's cups.
My name is Michael Madden, like Heidi said. My Fulbright country of interest right now is Denmark. And the most boring fact about me is that I'm in lab right now.
Well, thank you for joining us from lab. All right. Okay. All right. Don't know why it's not showing me, but okay. All right, so getting to know you, so we've got that. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how to start planning for Fulbright, because y'all have decided to undertake this kind of daunting application. Hopefully we'll make it a little bit friendlier by the end of this evening, but there's a lot of different moving parts that happen with Fulbright, and it seems like it's really far away, but the summer will go by before you know it. So how can you kind of set yourself up for success when you're planning for your Fulbright? So first off, I want to encourage you to set your priorities. And there are kind of three main priorities to get started with, and then a lot of the other things can come along as you go through the summer and start to narrow down where you're going, what you're doing, and all those details. So that's the first challenge to you all, is to find your fit, your award type, and your location. So those are going to be really important as you're starting your application, because everything with Fulbright is about your fit. It's about talking about how your interests, values, skill sets, passions, goals align with the program and the country that you've chosen. So of course, if you want to save yourself some time and really write towards those goals, you want to make sure that you know where you're going, what you're doing. So I would encourage you, if you haven't already, it sounds like y'all have some pretty good ideas of where you want to go. But for those of you that are still figuring it out, start to narrow it down, talk to your faculty members, talk to us as advisors about our thoughts on where you might want to go, do your research on the Fulbright website, reach out to alumni, but that's going to be a really important part of the process, and really a lot of the success of Fulbright is finding a program that's a good fit for you. So that's probably priority number one. And then I know a bunch of you are doing the study research awards. So for you all, priority number two is to start looking towards those affiliations. So are y'all kind of familiar with what the affiliation letter is? Hopefully people have heard it. Yes. All right. And so when we're talking about affiliation, we're talking about that connection that you're making with your host country, with the department or the faculty that you're hoping to work with abroad, either as research or as a student at that university. Not every country requires a letter at start. Usually if you're doing research, they will, but they do use the word recommend too. So kind of two things to know about Fulbright is required means that you need that piece of information in order to have your application reviewed at all. It is a minimum requirement. And then recommended is what you should have to be competitive. And if it says recommended, you should probably do it if you can. So for Fulbright, the affiliation letter is something that often falls into that kind of recommended gray area. But we would definitely recommend that you go forth and pursue an affiliation unless your program page says not to do so, which some of them do. But thinking about affiliations, that's something that we can help with as an office. We do have in our Fulbright team a number of resources about asking for affiliations. And I would again encourage you to use your networks, talk with your faculty, say if they have connections in your host country, any professional organizations you're a part of, seeing if they have connections or maybe member institutions that are over there, and begin to make those connections. Especially since I know we've hit summer here, so a lot of faculty have disappeared to go off and do the wonderful things that they do during the summer, and that often doesn't involve checking email. So with affiliations and with recommendations, it's important to get started on those sooner rather than later, because one, you'll need at least two of your three recommendations for the August 14th campus deadline, where you'll be able to get your application reviewed by USC faculty. And also summer. So in the US, like folks aren't checking their email much over the summer. In Europe, it's probably a little bit more pronounced, the not checking email, and that as the summer goes on, fewer and fewer people are going to be as attentive to inquiries coming from you all. So sooner rather than later is a good rule of thumb for that. And then 3, go ahead and start reflecting on your goals. And this is kind of the wider why of your Fulbright. So what are you hoping to achieve? What kind of experience do you want to have? What kind of skills do you bring to the table? And start that writing process. And then the next component of planning for Fulbright, again, is considering deadlines. So thinking about where we're heading. So there's that August 14th campus deadline. Remember, that's the deadline for you to have a polished dress rehearsal draft of your application ready to go, including 2 of those 3 recommendations and your affiliation if you're able to get it by that point. And that will be the point at which we take that information, we share it with USC faculty who are familiar with Fulbright, familiar with your geographic region, your discipline, and they will review and offer you feedback on your application. That's probably the most helpful thing we do. So if at all possible, definitely hit that August 14th deadline. So working backwards from that, there are some other dates to go ahead and if you have it available, like literally put them in your calendar right now to help you stay on track. So we do have recommended essay deadlines. For those of you who've already been paired with the mentor, you're aware of this fact, but we recommend to stay on track that you aim to have a draft of each of your essays ready to go and submitted to your faculty FPA or to one of us in the National Fellowships team by June 1, July 1, and August 1. And in order to be eligible for the August 14th campus deadline, we do have to have reviewed at least 1 draft of each of your essays by that last deadline, August 1. So that kind of helps you to keep on track. If you have any questions about that, ask your FPAs if you need a little bit of wiggle room, but we try and stay on that 1 per month essay track. Again, that's designed not to stress you out, but to keep you on track for that as well. And then other landmarks that you may set for yourself. So thinking about if you know that you're going to be traveling, making sure that you have the time for that. If you know that you have a good stretch of time coming up and then you'll be a little bit busier during the later summer, know that. So I want to invite you right now to take some time and actually write out some of your deadlines on your calendars. Are there any other questions or maybe even like advice that you have to share for your fellow applicants? Or Jen or Val, did you do anything to keep yourself on track when you were applying for Fulbright?
Yes. So I met regularly with the fellowships office where I went to school, and very similar kind of deadlines and structure to this. So that was very helpful because I found that the best gift that I could give myself was time between drafts. Because coming back to it, even just a week later instead of a month later or something like that, it was really helpful. Also, again, any fellowship application is kind of a self-discovery process, but for Fulbright, I think especially so because you really are making a commitment to potentially spending a year in a place. And so I think that there's a lot of discovery that can happen as you draft, and some themes and information might emerge kind of as you discover. So give yourself the time to be able to do that. You don't have to have all the answers right away. And I really like what Heidi had to say about having like your dress rehearsal draft ready, because then we can help you make it, sing even more after getting a little bit more feedback. So definitely trust the process, give yourself some time, and also enjoy your summer in between there, because a good healthy balance is definitely helpful. I didn't know that Slack was a thing. I didn't know that Reddit was a thing when I was applying, because I just did not. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I think sometimes all of that background chatter from other people who might be applying or people who have applied in the past, just try to shut that all out and focus on your story.
That's actually a great segue into our next slide, because I specifically talk about Reddit and Slack. So thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions about planning your Fulbright, kind of what to start with? And you can also feel free to throw questions in the chat as we go, if you don't want to mute and unmute yourself. All right, so now that we've set our priorities, what are some of these resources that we can use? So, of course, fellowships advising. We'll be here all summer. I'll be out of the country for a couple of weeks, starting on the 11th of May through the 23rd. But other than that, I'm planning to be in the office most of the summer. So you can meet with myself. Matt Klopfenstein, who is not here, is also kind of my co-pilot with the Fulbright process, but also Jen, Val, Chastity. You can meet with anyone in our office to talk about your plans if you need to, and kind of start doing some of that reflective work. So make sure that you are using us while you're here. We'll be on campus or virtually available to you. Accountability group. So I am going to be sending out an accountability group scheduling for those of you who indicated you were interested in that opportunity through the preliminary application. And that, again, for people who may not be familiar, is just a held block of time that we're going to have, probably going to be virtual, where we just have an hour or hour and a half once a week that everyone comes and they work on whatever they want. That can be related to Fulbright. If you need that space, I don't know, come do homework for another class, to work on your taxes, do art, whatever you want to do. But that accountability group is, again, a space and a time and an accountability metric for you keeping on track for your writing goals. So stay tuned for that information. If you didn't indicate that you wanted to be in an accountability group and you now do, just send me an email, let me know, and we'll make sure to share that opportunity with you. Your FPA support. So that's going to be the faculty mentor that we pair you with once we receive your preliminary application. I think many, if not all of you, have submitted that. If not, submit that sooner rather than later. Our last deadline to take advantage of that opportunity is going to be July 1. And we do pair kind of based on faculty capacity. We do have a group of small but mighty group of faculty who have agreed to give a little bit more of their time this summer to help you out with your Fulbright applications, provide more of that content related expertise. And so the sooner you let us know kind of what you're thinking, where you're going, the sooner we can pair you up with the FPA support, and the better we can make that match. The Fulbright team, and by the Fulbright team, like that's us, yes, but also the Fulbright team on Microsoft Teams is going to be a really important resource for you. That's where I'm going to put this video. I have videos from years past. There are draft emails for how to write an affiliation request. There are examples of letters and how to get started writing and just all sorts of good stuff. And so you'll get access to that team. You should already have it now. And as you open up your application in the Fulbright portal, then you'll gain access to kind of the super secret Fulbright Teams channel. That is where we put examples of previous successful USC Fulbright applications. With that, the reason we have that kind of a little bit behind a barrier is because we do want you to kind of take your own first stab at writing your essays and finding your own voice and kind of going in without influence from maybe how others have done it, because there's no one right way to write a Fulbright application. And so we find it usually is more helpful if you get your ideas out on paper and then look to others for inspiration. That'll kind of help you retain your own voice. Fulbright webinars in the website. So we have webinars. We're going to have a number over the summer, but Fulbright has a lot of really great ones. I think yesterday or today there was one about doing Fulbright with disabilities. They have some that are specific identity groups, specific regions, study award types. They have some that walk you through the application process, and they usually do record those and you can watch them back at your own time. But those are some really great resources. And then of course the website just has so much information. Definitely take some time and look through that website and what it has to offer. The campus feedback process, we talked about this already, but that's that August 14th deadline. And then again, Slack or Reddit, or maybe not. So if you have found the Fulbright Slack or the Fulbright Reddit, congratulations, and I'm sorry. And so with that, it's a really great source of information. It is other applicants talking about things, and there's some people I say I actually am every so often on the Fulbright Reddit, and I will answer questions sometimes. I don't know how to get branded as like an actual person, like a Fulbright FPA, but I'm working on it. So you may find that you'll get some information there, but just make sure you're taking everything with a grain of salt. Because people are going through the process along with you, and they may have different experiences, they may have different priorities, and there's just a lot of talking and information. So take it with a grain of salt, and you may find it useful. Have that community as you're moving forward. And then also another resource you may be interested in using is ChatGPT, which of course, as you're doing the brainstorming process, as you're trying to prepare for any interviews, ChatGPT can be a helpful tool. But of course, like a ChatGPT essay is very, 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 very obvious to reviewers. And also it's not you. And really with Fulbright, the most competitive applications are going to be the ones that show that fit and also showcase your authentic voice. So feel free to use ChatGPT to get some ideas to get started, but definitely make sure that you are going back and editing, that you are adding in your own voice, your own experiences, so that, again, it's not an AI who's getting a Fulbright, it's you. So y'all should know how to handle that by now, I hope. Probably better than I do. So just have, feel free to reach out with any questions if you're concerned about maybe how to use that tool, or if you just want to run it by someone. We're always happy to have those conversations as well. Any other resources that y'all have found helpful or that you would want to add to this list? All right. And I will say also, if you do get stuck with a question that maybe our team can't answer, or that is very specific to the country or the award that you're looking at, the Fulbright staff is actually very responsive. You'll find their emails at the bottom of each of those country program pages. So if you have specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out to them as well. They're a really great resource, and they're very fast at responding. All right. So now that we know our resources, we know our priorities, let's talk about pro tips. So some technical tips first. So again, this is kind of as you're going through, these are some things that can help you stay on track, help you stay organized as you move through all these moving pieces. So a first technical tip is to save each draft as its own document. So like statement of grant purpose 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. The reason for that is as you're going through this generative discovery process of writing, you may find as you go through your drafts, like some things you're going to keep, some things you're going to maybe not keep from draft to draft, but you may get 3, 4 drafts deep and then realize, oh my gosh, I said it so well when I did draft 1, what did I say? And that way you can actually have it saved as a discrete document. So you can go back to where you were at that point in time and maybe pull that information or pull that wording and put it into a later draft. And also it is kind of fun at the very end to kind of look at your first draft and look at your final draft and see how far you've come and what you've discovered along the way. So that can be kind of fun as well. So definitely a best practice saving each draft as an individual document. And of course, not using the online portal as your only composition tool. So go ahead and use the word processor of your choice, because then you'll be able to have control over saving it. It's likely auto-saving. The portal, you can't trust it. You can, but maybe not for that portion of your application. When you're first starting out, don't worry about the length or the formatting or what belongs in the statement of grant purpose or the personal statement or the short answer questions. It's really easy to let that structure get in the way when you're first starting out and first putting your ideas to paper. So probably the best practice that I recommend is just doing a brain dump and just putting everything you want Fulbright to know about you down on the page. That can be handwritten, it can be on the computer, you can dictate it to your phone, you can record yourself, anything that kind of helps you get those ideas flowing, get things out on paper. And then once you have everything you want Fulbright to know, then you can start saying, oh, this sounds like it would go in the personal statement, or this might go in the statement of grant purpose. And you can start moving those pieces around. And that usually helps you, one, get the ideas out, and two, it keeps you from kind of self-editing as you're starting to write, which can be a little bit tricky. Personally, as an advisor, I would much rather have like 3 or 4 pages of information to pare down than to have a strictly 1-page document that I can tell someone was really editing as they wrote. So as you're getting started, just put it all out there. And if you're having trouble writing, again, try text-to-speech software, record yourself, maybe even like have a conversation with someone about what your thoughts are, and kind of help get those ideas flowing. And then when you do get to the point where you're ready for draft review, and this may be a personal preference, but I think my colleagues share this, when you do send your drafts for review, send them as Word or Google documents. They're a lot easier to edit as opposed to like PDFs. So usually if someone sends me a PDF, I will just save it as a Google or as a Word doc and then send it back to you. So go ahead and cut out the middleman, send your drafts as Word or Google Docs. I tend to use comments and sometimes the track changes feature. So if you're not familiar with that, just let me know as you're getting started and I can give you, and that's actually one of the resources I think in the Fulbright team is, what is track changes? How do you use it? What is all this information on here? And so that can help if you are maybe unfamiliar with that feature or need a refresher. So those are our technical pro tips. So let's talk about writing. So when you're starting out, like, know that you don't need to share everything. This is your story, this is your application, and you are in control of this narrative. Not everything is going to get on the page. You only have at most 3.5 pages of writing to do. So one, you can't fit everything. And two, you want to really think strategically about which parts of your story maybe most align with what you're hoping to do with Fulbright, and making sure that the stories that you tell are making that connection to what you're hoping to do. Writing in the first person I, that may be something that's a little bit unfamiliar, especially with academic writing. We tend to write in the third person a lot. It's very kind of a clinical, sort of objective approach to writing. For the Fulbright, it's a different style, and you will be using first person a lot more. You will be talking about yourself. So if that's something that you might struggle with, I know I do, just know that that's something that is part of the growth process of applying for a Fulbright. And when you start thinking about what you're doing, so this is something, a lot of this is actually coming from inspiration from Val and some of the workshops she's given, so feel free to chime in at any moment, Val. But really think about using your application to tell a story, about your experiences, and using stories to illustrate points that you're making. So instead of saying like, I am a leader, talk about the time that you saw that there was, I don't know, that we needed a recycling program on campus. And so you talk to different units and you talk to facilities and you got funding from student government and you help to increase the availability of recycling facilities. That's going to show not only that you're a leader, but that you can organize, you can work with other people, you're concerned about the environment. So really thinking about those stories and how they illustrate these different parts of yourself that you're hoping to show to Fulbright, and thinking about it a little bit more like storytelling. I think the name for it is creative nonfiction, narrative nonfiction. So thinking about telling your story using some of those elements that make fiction stories so compelling: setting, description, dialogue, etc. And remember that your goal is to make it make sense, to make this Fulbright application your next logical step. Why do you need to do Fulbright in this place, at this program, doing this thing, doing this research? Like, why now? Why is this this your next logical step on the way to wherever you're going. Another really good tip is don't make readers guess at information. Remember that for Fulbright, many times your written application is going to be the only thing that the Fulbright reviewers will ever judge you on. Many Fulbright programs don't even do interviews. You only get the written application. So don't make readers guess at information. So if you make an allusion to something, and this is something that we can help you with as advisors too, but making sure that you're explaining terms. If you say, oh, I'm part of the Gamecock Corral, what is that? No one outside of USC is going to know what that is. Many people inside USC won't know what that is. What is USC? So thinking about like kind of explaining some of those terms that you may use on a daily basis that others may not be familiar with, or that you may know about yourself, but that others may not know about you. And remember, advisors can help with brainstorming too. We do have those hour-long appointments. I think we're actually in the process of having hour-long essay review appointments and fellowship deep dive appointments. So if you just aren't quite sure where you're going, you want to have some time to sit down with us, some activities, we can help you with that brainstorming process too. Oh, and there is.
Sorry. Can I
Yeah,
just
go
add
ahead, Val. Go
real
ahead, Val.
quick? Sorry, I just wanted to say I agree with everything that Heidi was saying about sort of the storytelling aspect of it. And one of the other reasons why show don't tell is particularly helpful for Fulbright is because the people reading your essays need to see that you can figure things out and that you can be in a position where maybe something is new or you just had to figure out how to get something done, and you were able to do that successfully using a variety of skills, because that is what the Fulbright experience is. You're in a new place, you have to make connections with new people, and anything that you can do to build that confidence in the selection committee that, yes, if you're faced with a difficulty or a challenge, you know how to figure it out. So being able to demonstrate how you do that is particularly powerful.
Thank you. Yes, and again, to kind of talking about to the point of making it make sense, this is our patent pending fellowship fit funnel, which is really kind of the argument you want to build as you're developing your Fulbright application is why you, what is it about your interests, your goals, your skill sets, your background? What is it about you that makes you a good fit for this particular program or project? Are you going to do research with someone who's leading in the industry or who's doing something really creative or innovative? Are you going to a master's program that has some really unique element that you couldn't get in other places, or is like doing something really cool? Like, why is this program or project a good fit for you? Why is this location a good fit for you? So thinking about language goals, international goals, relationship building goals. Why is now the best time for you to do this thing? So thinking about where Fulbright is sitting in your life plan, that again, that next logical step. What are you doing through Fulbright that will prepare you for what's coming down the road? And then finally, and this is somewhere where we see a lot of students maybe not quite tying the bow on top of the present, but why this award? What is it about Fulbright that really draws you in? And remember that Fulbright at its heart is a diplomatic initiative. It's a ambassadorship program. So they're really looking for folks, like Val said, who can figure it out, who can be adaptable, who can build relationships, who can sustain those relationships and talk to people who maybe haven't met many Americans before, haven't met someone who comes from your background. So really thinking about what it is about Fulbright's values as an organization that really align with you and your values as well, and really communicating those. Again, don't make readers guess that your values align with Fulbright. So that's kind of the path you want to go down as you're starting to write your application. That's kind of the funnel you're moving everything down with, and hopefully at the end, profit. So any questions before we change gears to a little bit more interactive portion? All right, moving right along then. So This again is very much inspired by Val. So as you heard her say already, writing is an act of discovery. So now we're going to move into the writing portion of this activity. So if you have it, go ahead and take out some paper. You can open up a Word doc, Google Doc, however you like to record it, but we are going to do a little bit of writing to help y'all get started with this kind of pre-writing essay drafting. So again, you don't have to have everything figured out, and you likely won't when you start writing. So really enjoy the surprises that come along the way, the things that you discover about yourself through your writing, the connections that you draw that maybe you hadn't before. So leaving kind of space for that element of surprise. And you can always start again. And again, like Val said, time is a great gift when you are writing, because that gives things time to percolate, time for you to reflect, to walk away from a piece of writing, come back to it with new eyes or a fresh perspective. So the more you give yourself time and space to really let your brain do what it needs to do, the better. We know that's not always a luxury that people will have. And so definitely making sure that you're balancing kind of the time you're devoting with writing to the time you're taking away to give yourself that fresh perspective. So specifically writing for Fulbright. So what will you be writing? Fulbright basically has 3 main writing pieces that you will be working on, and we're going to focus on basically 2 of them today. So the first is the personal statement, and that's really the why of your Fulbright application. That's the story behind why you're doing what you're doing. It gives context to your interests and goals. And remember, with Fulbright, when you write about those personal stories, you share those experiences, you do want to do that in the context of what you're hoping to do with Fulbright. It's fine and dandy if you if you tell us a whole story about your dog and how you got your dog and how much you love your dog, but if you're not connecting it back to that's why you're going to study like animal welfare in Poland, then it doesn't quite make sense. So that's one of the things that will help with once you kind of get things writing, figuring out how to frame it and how to make everything kind of fit together. In the personal statement, another note is they actually used to call it the written, or I think it was the written interview or something along that lines. And basically this is what that is for. So it's having Fulbright get to know you as a person a little bit outside of the project or the experience that you're proposing. But again, everything should tie back into why Fulbright, why your interests, all of that good stuff. And that is 1 page, single spaced. So again, don't worry about spacing, page limits and all that when we get started, but eventually it will be 1 page single spaced, believe it or not. And then the statement of grant purpose is 1 to 2 pages, depending on whether or not you're applying for an ETA grant or a study research grant. And so this is more the meat of the Fulbright application. This is the what, where, and how, and who of your application. So like what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, why you're doing this particular place, more of those concrete details. Most importantly, your plan or proposal should be clear and feasible. So feasible meaning that like if you're planning to go do research abroad for 9 months, your project should reasonably be accomplished within that time period. So thinking about threading that needle between something that's a little too simple and something that really will take years and years and years to really achieve in the way you want to. So really thinking about how realistic your proposal is, and then again being clear. Don't make the reader guess information, talking to them about who you're going to work with, what you're going to do, specific classes that you're most interested in. If there's an internship component to your program, it should be very clear and feasible. If you're doing an ETA, talk about your classroom management strategies, the different experiences you've had that have prepared you to help students learn English. So thinking about the clarity and the feasibility of your proposal. And then, of course, connecting what you will do abroad to your future goals. Why is Fulbright your next logical step? How is it going to help you get that PhD or become that English teacher or go to law school? What is it going to help you do? What skills are you going to build through Fulbright? Does that make sense? Awesome. Any questions on the writing for Fulbright. All right, then, again, some key tips and components. You don't need to share everything. Remember, this is your story, and we will be talking about what we write down in a little bit with each other, with the group. So again, just know that going in when you're thinking about what you want to share and how you want to share that. Writing in the first person, don't confine yourself to a word count, and remember to tell those stories. Some components of what you could write about are academic backgrounds and interests, highlighting soft skills and hard skills, what you've learned from different experiences, academic and professional goals and the motivations behind them, maybe some influential life experiences that are related to this goal or your overall development, and how this Fulbright experience might fit into those broader plans. So those are some of the components that you can think about. But we're actually going to, again, thank you, Val, for this activity. But we're going to really talk about our origin stories. So if you think about it, each superhero has an origin story. They have an event or a series of events that really help them to become who they are and really motivate them in their path forward. So we're going to have you write your origin story. So for each part, it's going to be a 3-part activity. I want you to write or type as many ideas as you can in each of our categories. Our categories are going to be the call to adventure. So what really kind of got you motivated, what piqued your interest about what you're hoping to do with Fulbright? What were the steps along the way, your successes, your setbacks, your mentors that helped you, your different influences, and then the here and the hereafter. So what are you doing right now, and what are you hoping to do in the future? We want you to focus on bullet points, short phrases, focusing on quantity for now. Again, try not to do that self-editing where you try and word everything beautifully and all of that. That will come later. We want this to be like quick and dirty, bullet points, information on a page. And this will form a menu that you can pull from to tell your story in different ways. And so that's kind of the beauty of having, again, those different drafts that you keep, is that you'll be able to pull bits of information to make the draft what you want it and to tweak it as needed. All right. Anything to add, Val?
I love that corgi. So that was not something that was part of my exercise. So thank you for adding that, Heidi. No, but yeah, definitely give yourself those options because when you can kind of start to see all the options that you have, that's when you can start finding those themes that will connect things in compelling ways that then adds up to Fulbright's values and relates yourself to Fulbright's values or relates yourself to the work you want to be doing in your host country and things like that. So definitely having those options and the ability to pick and choose, because our origin stories are complicated. We can tell our origin story in many different ways, but you have to confine yourself to a page. And so sometimes knowing like, I wrote this somewhere, it's not that it doesn't exist, it's just not going to be the thing that I have right now for this document. Sometimes that can be helpful if you're feeling a little stuck.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, and yes, I was very excited to find that corgi when I Googled superhero. So thank you, Google image search. All right, so we are not going to start at the beginning. We are going to start at the now. So I want you to go ahead and whatever document or piece of paper you're writing on, go ahead and write the label Origin Story Part 3. So that's where we are right now and where you're going. So I want you to take a few moments, and we're going to take probably about, we'll say about 3 to 4 minutes a slide, 3 to 4 minutes an element. So what I want you to do is think about what you're doing now, your academics, your clubs, leadership, service, research, and then what your goals are for the future. And this can include academic, career, or personal goals, hopefully all 3. So I'm going to let you think about that for a second. So what you're doing now and what your goals are for the future. So I'm going to go ahead and start a timer. I'm going to give you all 4 minutes just to write down as many things as you can that are happening now and that you hope will happen in the future. Take about another 30 seconds. All right, finish up what you're writing for origin story part 3. We're going to move to origin story part 2. So go ahead and write that label on your page. And so this part is the steps that came along the way, steps along the way between where you started, where you are now. So what are some of the things that led to your current activities and goals and your future goals? So go ahead and think about challenges you may have faced, decisions you made, achievements you earned, learning experiences along the way, mentors that really played a role, any moments of pride, and again, those all important surprises that happened along the way. So I'm going to give you another 3 minutes. So you're talking about the steps that got you to where you are. Take about another 30 seconds. All right, finish up your thought. And finally, we're going back to the beginning, where it all began. So go ahead and write origin story part 1. And in this, I want you to think about your formative experiences. what started you on your path to what you mentioned in your part 3, where you are now and where you're going? You can think about childhood, young adulthood, start of college, go back as far or not as you want, but think about those really formative experiences, those moments in time. Formative events, values that maybe you discovered, rediscovered, mentors, influential figures that really had an influence on you, got you started on this path. So again, we're going to take 3 minutes. I'm going to put on the timer. And I do have a schedule till 7:15 if you do need to hop out. Just say farewell and head on out. But I'm going to put on the timer for 3 minutes, and then hopefully you'll stick around for us to do a little bit of talking and sharing. Take about another 30 seconds to finish up your thoughts. All right, finish your last thought. Okay, we've done the writing portion. So now let's talk. So what I want you to do is to review the items on your origin story menu, parts 1, 2, and 3, and think about if you had to help someone understand why you are the person you are today, and why you want to pursue the Fulbright and your fellowship goals, what would you tell them? So think about the story you would tell using the different parts of your menu. And then I'm actually going to, let's see how many folks we have here. Okay, so I'm going to break you up into breakout rooms, and you'll each have 3 minutes to share your story with your partner. So that'll be 3 minutes for one partner, swap 3 minutes for the other partner. So a total of 6 minutes. And you're going to tell your partner so how you got to where you are today and why you want to pursue your fellowship and your goals using your origin story menu. And then we'll come back together to share out key moments of reflection from this writing exercise and then talk about what's next. Any questions? All right. So now that we've talked through our menus, what's next? So again, I think I've met with y'all in various contexts, but go ahead and meet with a National Fellowships Advisor if you haven't, or if you want to again. For those who are current undergrads, you can get an appointment through Navigate under Involvement or Engagement. Grads or alums, you can meet with Matt Klopfenstein, and the link is there, or with myself. Again, I'll be out of the country over the next couple weeks, but other than that, should be available. Go ahead and complete the preliminary application. If you've met with an advisor, you should have the link to do that. If you've met with an advisor and you don't have the link, reach out to us and we'll make sure that you have that information. And the final deadline to apply for the FPA pairing, the mentorship, is going to be July 1. So remember, sooner rather than later can be helpful, and then you can get started on that resource. Go ahead and open a Fulbright application in the portal. Once you do that, we'll add you onto the part of the Fulbright team that gives you access to those previous applications. And then keep an eye out on the sign up for the accountability group. I will probably send that out after I get back. And then keep an eye on your email throughout the summer. Please keep checking your email because I will be sending you lots of emails. Hopefully not too many, hopefully helpful. But keep an eye on your email. We'll have more information on the Focus on Fulbright workshop dates that are going to be coming up, with which address different portions of the application, and just in general, any announcements I will usually send out via email. So just make sure that you're watching that. And other than that, that is all I have for you this evening. Thanks so much for joining us, taking the time out of your day, and for being such good participants, good sports, and great applicants. So very excited to work with you all and learn more about your stories, hear your menus, and help you hit that submit button. So I'm going to go ahead and let you have the rest of your evening, but thank you so much.
Thank you.